Hi Year 4, welcome to our maths lesson. So today we're looking at word problems. So you're going to do this today and tomorrow. So hopefully by the end of that you'll be able to solve multi-step word problems. So all that means is rather than having to do one calculation, you might have to do a couple more. So let's have a little look through together. So we're going to use a method called the Rucsac method. And if you can remember this word and work through it as you're going through the word problem and trying to work them out, and hopefully it will guide you through. So the R, first of all, stands for read. So the first thing we need to do is read the word problem. Then the U, we've got to understand that. And in order to do that, what we're going to do is underline the key information. So underline is another word that begins with a U, so understand and underline. The C stands for choose. So you're going to choose what calculation you're going to use, whether it might be addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. It might be a combination of those. You're going to choose which method you're going to use. S is for solve, so you're going to work out the answer. A, you'll get your answer. And then C, what we always want you to do is check. So look at your answer, check it through, check your calculations, then reread the question to make sure your answer makes sense. So let's have a look at some examples together. So the first thing we need to do, according to our rucksack, is read. So my question says, I buy 3 pizzas costing £10.95 each and 2 small pizzas costing £7.69 each. How much do I spend altogether? So I've read it. The next thing that I need to do is understand it, and in order to do that I'm going to underline or highlight the key information. So what do you think is important there? Have a quick look at it. What do you think is important? Is it important that we're talking about pizzas? Do we think yes or no? No, of course it isn't. It's normally the numbers that are what's important to us, and a few of the words at the end that will help us to understand what it is it's asking us to do. So I'm going to underline my 3, my £10.95, my 2 and my £7.69. And then the key words that we need is how much have I spent all together. Now we'll hear that word a lot, all together. So we've understood and we've underlined. The next thing now is think about what calculation we need to do. We need to choose the calculation. So I need to figure out how much it's cost me for these pizzas and then also these pizzas here. So one pizza cost me £10.95. I need to know how many 3 of them have cost, so I could do £10.95, add £10.95, add £10.95. Can you think of an easier way for me to do that calculation? Rather than adding, what else could I do that would make it a little bit quicker? Anybody know? Hopefully, we'll have recognised that timesing by 3 would be quicker for me to do. So I start at my units. 3 times 5 is 15. Then I do the next one along. So 3 times 9 is 27. Add 1 is 28. I bring my decimal point down. 3 times 0 is 0. Hopefully you got that. But I've got to add my 2 on. And then 3 times 1 is 3. So my first lot of pizzas have cost me £32.85. I've then got to work out how much my smaller pizzas cost. So one of them was £7.69. I'm going to use the same method, okay? But this I've only got 2. So we could do £7.69, add £7.69, or alternatively, we could multiply by 2. 9 times 2 is 18. Next one along, 6 times 2 is 12, add 1 is 13. You must remember to bring your decimal down. Your decimal point has got to be in your answer. Okay, so bring my decimal down. 2 times 7 is 14, add 1 is 15. So my small pizzas cost me £15.38. So do I finish there now? Have I done and move on to the next question, do we think? Well, let's have a look. We've read it, we've understood it, we've chosen what calculation we need to do, and we've solved this bit so far, and we've got an answer. So let's just check now. So I've got two answers. I'll reread the question. So I buy 3 pizzas costing £10.95 each and 2 small pizzas costing £7.69 each. How much do I spend altogether? So now this here is my key word, altogether. I've got one more calculation to do before I've got my answer. What do I need to do with these two numbers here in order to find my altogether? Do I do another times or is it something else? Good, it's an add. So I need to do £32.85 add £15.38. Okay, so add them up. 8 plus 5 is 13. 8 plus 3 is 11. Add 1 is 12. Bring down my decimal point because you must have your decimal in the answer. 2 plus 5 is 7. Add 1 down there is 8. And 3 plus 1 is 4. Now, I'm something missing here. What have I forgotten to put on? Hopefully you recognise it's my pound sign. So I've got my answer. Let's check if it sounds right. So I've bought some pizza at £10.95, some pizza at £7.69. Okay, I need a grand total. So hopefully my answer should be bigger than those two numbers. £48.23. Now, what I would expect you to do now is go back over and check all that your calculations are correct before you move on. And I know it's really boring, but that is how you will pick up any silly mistakes you might have made. Check that you've copied the numbers down correctly. That's another silly mistake that some of you make as well. Okay, now I'm going to go through on to the next one, but if you do this in class with me, I'd say check each calculation, make sure you've not made any silly mistakes. Okay, let's look at another example together. So, back to my rucksack. First of all, it's asking me to read. I got £65 for my birthday. I spent £25.50 on some new clothes and £12.85 on some toys. How much money have I got left? So, we've got to understand it and we're going to underline the key information. So, see if you can point out to yourselves at home there what information here is important for me to underline. So, hopefully you will have got the money, the £65. Okay, so that's how much I started with. That's how much I spent on new clothes. And this is how much I've spent on some toys. So it's asking me how much money have I got left. So alarm bell should be ringing now. If I'm spending it, should I be ending up with a number that's less than 65 or more than 65? Think to yourself, because that's what then we're looking for at our answer and check section here. So we've underlined and understood. Now we've got to choose what we need to do. So first thing I need to do is figure out how much I spent altogether so far. So I've spent £25.50 on my new clothes and I've spent £12.85 on some new toys. What do I need to do here if I want to figure out how much I've spent altogether already? Is it an add or a takeaway? Good, it's an add. So 0 add 5 is 5. 5 add 8 is 13. What have I got to remember now before I move on? Good, my decimal. 5 add 2 is 7, add 1 is 8, and 2 add 1 is 3. This is how much I've spent altogether. Now, some of you then would stop there and move on to the next question. But this is when this bit here, the A and the C, becomes important because I've got my answer, but now I need to check. So I check through, everything's correct, can move on. Whoa, we stop there. What we need to do is we need to read the question again. So I got £65 for my birthday. I spent £25.50 on some new clothes and £12.85 on some new toys. The question's asking me, how much money have I got left? Now, this is where alarm bells should be ringing, because this isn't what I've got left. This is how much I've spent. So I've got to do another calculation. This is where your multi-step word problems come in. This is step 1. We've now got to do step 2. So I started with £65. I've spent £38.35. Okay, now to make this bit up here easier, I'm going to put my decimal in the same place. And what numbers can I put in the spaces there? That won't change the value of the number. What numbers? Good, zeros. Okay, now if I know how much I've got left, so I've spent some of my money, what calculation am I going to do? So which calculation am I going to do? Good, it should be a takeaway, you should have realised. So can I do 0 take away 5? Can we do that? No, of course we can't. Now we can't borrow from the 0 here. We've got to jump across the next one and we borrow from the 5. So my 5 becomes 4, my 0 here becomes 10. But we still need to borrow, so cross out the 10, that becomes 9, and this is 10. 10 take away 5 is 5. 9 take away 3 is 6. What comes next? Good. Decimal point. 4 take away 8. Can I do that? No, of course I can't. So cross out my 6. Okay. 14 take away 8 is 6. And 5 take away 3 is 2. So this is how much I am left with. So that then is my answer. And again, you would go back and you would check that you've done all your working out correctly. Make sure you borrowed if you need to do. That's another silly mistake that some of you make. And it's not worth losing your mark if it's just a silly error. So we've read it, we've understood it, we chose our calculations. This time we had an add and a takeaway. We solved them both. We had an answer. You will have checked it, reread the question, see if it makes sense, and then you can move on. So we've got one more example. I am running 250 miles for charity. I run 75 miles in January and 62 miles in February. How many more miles have I got to run? So we've read it. Again, the U we've got to understand or underline. So, key information, my numbers. This is how many I'm trying to run. This is how many miles I've run in January. Now, do I need to underline January? Is that important? No, it's not, is it? 62 is though. February is not important. And then how many more miles have I got to run? So how many more have I got? So we've understood it and underlined. We've now got to choose. So we've got to, this is the tricky bit now. We've got to choose and think about what the question's asking us and choose which calculation we're going to do. So this is how many miles I started off with. Okay. Sorry, this is how many miles I'm aiming to run. I've run already 65 and I've run 75 and 62. So the first thing we need to do is find the total of these. Now that's a key word, isn't it? Total. You will have heard this in your mental maths. What calculation do we need to do if I'm asking you to find the total of something? The total. Hopefully you remembered it's an add. So 5 add 2 is 7. 7 add 6 is 13. So altogether, the total miles I've run in January and February is 137. Now, we've got an answer. We're going to stop there. Well, let's just check. It says my aim is to run 250 miles of charity. I've run this many already. How many have I got left to run? So that's not telling me how many I've got left. That's telling me how many I've run already. So we've got to do our second step, haven't we? So this is what we're aiming to run. This is what we've run already. So we've got to find the difference between those two numbers. If I'm finding the difference, that's another key word. What calculation do I need to do? The difference. It's a takeaway. So again, 0, take away 7. Can we do that? Of course we can. So let's borrow from the 5. 10 take away 7 is 3. 4 take away 3, it leaves us with 1. And 2 take away 1 is 1. So this then is my answer. Remember then you would need to check. So you go back through your calculations and see if it's all correct. Think to yourself, does it make sense? Let's read it again. So I'm running 250, I've run 75 and 62 miles already. How many more miles have I got to run now? If this number here, if you'd done this wrong and you'd added those together, then this number here would have ended up bigger than 250. So that's when these alarm bells should be ringing, because that can't be correct, because we've knocked miles off because we've run some already. So you've got to think really carefully, does my answer make sense to what the question is asking me? Okay, always check. So there we go. That's your rucksack. Now you'll find an example of what the different letters stand for on Firefly. The sheets that we want you to do are on Firefly as well. So work through each question carefully, one stage at a time. This is the tricky one, the choose. You've got to really think carefully about what the question is asking you. But have a good go, okay? And remember that they're multi-step problems. So particularly today, the ones tomorrow, there might be some one-step, but today's ones are all two-step problems. So if you've only done one calculation and you think you've finished, have another look to find that second step. Okay, now I'm sure you'll all do brilliantly. We're here if you need us. Just drop us a little message on the forum and have a good go. Take care.